What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be making a full review for the Vampire Lady Romancing Festival banner that brings Vampire Lady Rapier style, that is a support unit for Remembrance, King Say, a very strong character made for farming more than anything else, and Hana, a support unit that can act as a debuffer or even as a damage dealer for club on Remembrance battles. Okay, so let's start with Vampire Lady. This version of Vampire Lady starts a new weapon, Rapier. The next version of her will also be Rapier, and she's not essentially a damage dealer, but she can work. Well, she has very low endurance and even low will. It's bad because in Remembrance Battle many times the enemies will try to inflict ailments and she will suffer a little from that, because they wanted to make her a mix-it bag. She wants some STR to inherit sword skills, she wants dexterity to do damage, and, well, she also wanted charisma in order to apply charm, hence why she also suffers from defense. Okay, so the first passive is called Intuition 2 Dexterity. On the start of a turn, you have a 25% chance to enter an evasion stance and also buff her dexterity by 15%. Well, there are some other characters with similar passives. Some of them will enter an evasion stance and heal. She chose to buff her dex. I would prefer to enter evasion and heal because this is more useful in Remembrance. The second one is called Vampire Bond. When she lands an attack, she will recover 1 BP, heal a very small amount, that should be around 200, and will also do the same for 1 random ally. It can be even herself. If it's herself, well, double effects. If someone else, well, it may help someone that needs 1 extra BP in order to get a better cycle. But it's random. It's not reliable, but it's something that you'll find in some future styles. Then the third one is called High Protect Tension. We all know this increases damage potential by 20%, reduces damage taken by 30%. First skills we have Instant Pierce, a 3 BP AoE attack with deep power. Not bad for the cost. The second one, Bloody Spike, a 7 BP single target attack with deep power only, and pierce and shadow damage. Well, it's too costly. We even have skills with 4 BP cost that have deep power, right? But it's costly because they want to give you a different effect. First, when the attack lands, you have 25% chance to trigger 2 BP to the party. You also have another separate 25% chance to trigger Bloodsucker. That is a deep power attack that it's slash and will recover her HP by around 1000. So 2 different chances to chase effects. One is fully support, giving 2 BP to everyone, including herself. Another will just allow her to heal. Hence why she didn't get the heal in the first passive. But, well, I need to discuss someone else because she clashes with someone we like, Rouge. The latest Global X Rouge has something similar, but in his case it's much better. I will have to explain why. We have Fluttering Elegance, 37% chance to trigger a skill called Everlasting Butterflies that deals very good damage and heals himself 2 times. It's not 1000, but will heal for 350. And he has 25% chance to chase with Blooming Fireworks Plus. That will give all surviving allies 1 or 2 BP. It's random. But the thing is, any single target attack will have the chance to trigger these 2 effects, while Vampire Lady has to use Bloody Spike, and this skill costs 7 BP. That means that even if she gets 4 BP per turn at least, she will still have to use this once every 2 turns, and has 25% chance to trigger that. Well, let's say on average you would trigger both effects separately or together once every 8 turns. Yes, that's not reliable, hence why I don't see her as a BP battery. Well, there are other characters with BP passives. For example, Human Leonid has 25% chance to give him 1 BP and then 1 BP to everyone including himself, and he has a chase attack, so, well, 2 chances of 25 every single turn. Another character that we have is Virgil. Well, he has a tank style that 37% chance when he being directly hit will trigger Fireworks, giving 1 BP to the party. And his other style has Fireworks Every time he gets 8 BP, he can also give 1 BP to the party. Not to forget about Rock Bouquet, that may not have the best BP battery set up right now, but in her global style, we can amplify Blooming Fireworks, the same skill that we saw in Rouge, and in the future she gets a lot of VP with newest styles, and she will be capable of using Blooming Fireworks every 2 turns. Hence why I don't consider Vampire Lady a good BP battery, and it's important to say that, since many people will just see it that way. Okay, treat it as an additional effect. The third skill is called Doki Doki Vampire Charm. It's a full AoE attack with Pierce and Shadow. Nice, but B power 26 mod only. It's not that strong for 10 BP. We already have skills that are less costly and more damage, but it deals critical against human. It was made for the next Remembrance, where we will fight against human enemies that can instant kill you, and you have to either charm or confuse them. And when the attack lands, have a chance to inflict charm. Her charisma status is just so high that, well, she won't fail. You don't even need that much charisma in that fight. But maybe in future challenges, if you really need charm, well, that's why they made it so high. And also helps her self-healing effects. So, the bad part about Vampire Lady is that her skills have low damage. As you can see, 7 BP for B power. Well, she has a chance to chase with Bloodsucker, but this doesn't happen all the time. Her Instant Pierce is her AoE attack that can be used right after Doki Doki Vampire Charm if you want, but, well, she will not be doing too much damage. She relies on triggering her Dexterity to get more damage, and has only 1 damage passive, so, well, she is a support unit and cannot be considered as a main damage dealer for Remembrance. And for Remembrance, we already have someone for Rapier that it's actually super simple to use for the next Remembrance, and that one is Jamie. In his cross style, he has Lady Stab. It's a fast attack that will try to inflict charm. It will give morale up and guard up. So if you have this character, you don't need Vampire Lady in order to use her for Remembrance. She will be locked into that. I don't see myself using this character in other type of content. So, well, you can inherit some stuff to make this Vampire Lady work in some other content, but I don't know. Well, you have from the Global X style, Rising Nova Plus. This is a useful skill, we all know. It will buff break the enemy. If the enemy is buffing too much, it will eventually just kill you by damage. So we stop then by use of Rising Nova or Dark Wash. You can also inherit this second skill that heal 3 times, herself and 3 different random surviving allies. But I don't know if you have time to save 9 BP just for that. But for Rapier, if you don't have many people that heal there, she can help. But Global X, Diana was just very popular and she can take the healing and sustain part. Well, sadly, this Vampire Lady has a very limited design, hence why she only deserves an SS- grade and eventually will drop. It's not a character that you'll be seeing in the future. But the future is bright. The next version of Vampire Lady is pretty unique. She has a skill number 3 where she enters evasion stance, doing fast damage, and when she gets hit, she will trigger a defense weakness on the enemy. Well, and if she does not get hit in a single turn, she will trigger a heat up and defense up effect, decreasing incoming damage by 5% and increasing damage by 5% as well. So it can trigger 5 times during battle. It will give 25% increase in damage to the party, reducing damage taken by up to 5 stacks of 5%. It's pretty similar to getting a Scrum Guard just by stacking this to max potential. So for Rapier, she will be very useful for members. She can also self-heal with Sheep and has a 6 BP attack that deals good damage to use on Overdrive. And she does not require any of the current style inheritances. The next character is Kingsei, and he is a very strong damage dealer for farming. He opens the fight with 20 BP, starts with 120 STR, 100% agility, and even triggers morale up, increasing his damage by 40% on the start of a round, and a heat up of 10% increase that can trigger 10 times per battle, but only if you have 10 rounds. If you are on a boss fight, it's 10% and just that. But as a punishment, on the start of a turn, he loses Endurance and Charisma by 20%. That's big, huh? And, well, his charisma is already pretty bad. It's just so that he gets to very low values where he cannot be healed anymore. So it's just kind of like what they did to Soji. Remember Soji? Soji is a very strong damage dealer, but he has 1 LP. He will just eventually die because of that. You cannot bring him to boss fights, but he also has bigger damage potential on turn 1 anyway. Kinsei has also Indomitable Tenacity. When he gets to 0, he will revive once with full HP, just so to give him a little extra survivability. And damage increases by 10% here as well. Fired up 7 increases damage by 40%, so you have 50% at all times, and then 90% because of morale up, and another 10% reaching 100 just on the start of the round. And for the first 3 turns, you still have morale up. After that, you have 60%. That's what happens with Kinsei. First skills, we have Fighter Ring. This is a support fast skill that uses 2 LP. Remember, he starts with 4, so if you use this, you only have 2. But he will revive once. That's to help him not die so fast. Now, for skills, we have Fighter Ring. For 3 BP and 2 LP, you have a support fast skill that will grant all surviving allies morale up, increasing damage by 40% by 3 turns. The bad thing is that he already has morale up on the start of fight. If you want to take full advantage of this, you should use this on turn 4, for example. That is if you are really using him on a boss fight. And he will also grant all surviving allies heat up, medium effect, increasing 10% damage to everyone for the whole fight. But the bad part is that he only has 4 LP, so when you use 2, you are left with only 2. But then you can revive once to fix that problem. Now, skill number 2 is called Minion Assault. For 10 PP, you have a full AoE attack with 8 power slash damage, and will also grant him an attack boost of small effect that will be triggered before he attacks. This is the start of something new, guys. Usually, we buff after attacking. He will buff himself before, but attack boost of 15% will allow him to reach 115 if you get this to level 99 before using Minion Assault. It's actually pretty cool. He will do good damage. And by starting with 20 BP, he can actually use Minion Assault 2 times in a row. For event farming, it will be amazing since he will just ignore if the enemies are in a column or are in a row. He will just do big damage. He will still not really outclass Arthur turn 1 damage, but again, he can use this 2 times in a row, so it pays off. Skill number 3 is called Skeleton King, a 10 BP attack that deals slash and shadow damage, and when the attack lands, it will apply Guard Down Small for 3 turns. Well, Guard Down Small will not stack with itself, only with defense down that we can find in characters like Global X Dark, the second Global X Arpina, for example. But if you want to use this 2 times in a row for farming, then on the 3rd turn you will be using Kusanagi. This is a single target attack, this time slash in lightning, breaking the cycle, but he can have 3 single target attacks in a row. Now, if you want to use his full AoE cycle, it's Minion Assault 2 times, and then by turn 3 you will use Boom Slash Plus. Well, it's C power in 15 mods. Not that strong, he will need help to clear a wave. But most events have only 2 waves. He was made for event farming, not really main story farming. Now, there's a 3rd rotation for Kinsei. You can inherit Minion Strike, a 10 BP full AoE attack that deals blunt damage in 35 mod. It's higher than his Minion Assault. Why? Because he does not have the attack boost effect. So you will replace Minion Assault slash damage with blunt damage and similar damage output. But he will not have a follow-up, so he was really made to farm events with 2 waves. Well, Kinsei will do plenty of damage. Sometimes he will solo waves, especially if you have the Remembrance Greatsword. It will not happen all the time, but if he needs help, he can bring someone with low damage output and he will just have enough. Now let's talk about bringing Kinsei to different content besides farming. On raids, if there are multiple enemies, he will do good enough damage, even against only one. But if you bring him in a long fight, he will just lose endurance and charisma to such high levels that he will eventually die by receiving big physical damage. You can bring Matriarch to fix his endurance problems, but at that point I don't see it being so valuable. You can bring another character that self-buffs, has bigger damage potential on longer fights, instead of bringing King Sei. Well, King Sei is very powerful. He reminds me of Soji, like I just said, but with better cycles for AoE, while Soji has a very strong cycle for cold. Then I think that the value of both characters are similar. If you like new ways to clear stages in events, to farm better, having a chance to sometimes solo farm with King Sei, well, he's your character. But ultimately, he is super skippable because he does not add much besides farming, and we can farm with just so many different characters in the game that, well, it doesn't mean much. Still, by raw power, you receive a SS plus grade for being such a good farmer. The next character is Hana, and she is a debuffer that uses Club. She has a okay STR, 112%, 91 intelligence, good enough for most part. Her agility could be much better, and her will is good enough for most part, with a very okay entrance. Dexterity could have been better. She may miss sometimes on the start of fights, but if you are bringing Matriarch with PN of Peace, this will be fixed. There's one funny thing is that the Platinum style of Hana has the same values for endurance. Lower will, but she does have Outer Wall Defense 6, reducing damage taken by 40%, but they have different usages. Now, for passives, we have Impaired 2 Intelligence. When landing an attack, she has a 37% chance to trigger an Intelligence debuff of 20%. And when landing an attack, she also has a 37% chance to get 2 BP. That is very similar to J-Mew bow style. They were designed similarly, as you can see through this, Impaired 2. Now, the second one is called Reinvigorate 1 STR. When landing an attack, she buffs her own STR by 15% and recovers own BP by 1. Nice, we've seen this many times before, but we just got Vampire Lady that has the upgraded version. Now, Great Block Tension decreases damage taken by 25% and increases damage done by 30%. This was changed in Global because she didn't have any damage reduction passives, and it was fun since, you know, like I said, her Platinum style has Iron Wall Defense 6 that decreases damage by 40% instead. For our skills, we have Blast Heal Plus, a single target attack with C-powered 16 mod that will also recover the user HP by around 900. What's good? You can use this anytime. It's pretty cheap. Before the Amplify, it was not. You will not be capable of using every turn. So you can even place her on a position where she takes more attacks and just use her as an off tank. The second skill is called On Island Turn. 7 BP AoE attack with blunt and shadow damage, pretty similar to the single target damage. And she also has a medium chance to apply confusion on targets. Well, why do they make this? Because of the next Remembrance, where the enemies can be inflicted with either confusion or charm in order to stop them from instant killing you. So she was made for Remembrance as well. Can be used in other contents, but we do have other characters that can do confusion as well, and some of them can even just buff their own intelligence. He cannot. Skill number 3 is called Meteor Strike Plus. For 10 BP, you have a single target attack with triple S power and 61 mod. As you can see, it's a little too costly for the current damage, but it's because it comes with 2 different effects. STR and intelligence debuffs of 20% when you get to level 99. So there are some fights where you need to bring both STR and intelligence debuffs or agility and intelligence debuffs, and I'll tell you why. Like Tone Lord attacks with martial arts attacks, and to decrease the damage and accuracy you need to debuff STR or agility or both. But it still has ailments, so you still need to debuff intelligence too. So for these situations, if you didn't clear the Tone Lord event, well, she will help you. And after she uses Meteor Strike, she will be using normal attack and trying to trigger her intelligence debuff. And then when she gets enough BP back, she either uses Meteor Strike or heal herself when need. It's a pretty simple design. You can also go back in her Platinum style and inherit Sypha if you want. It's a very cheap attack, 2 BP cost only, and has a chance to debuff STR by 15% on max level. It may be pretty good because in the end, if you need more of the STR debuff and you have another intelligence debuff, you can use them together to decrease both values. But still, it's pretty limited since most bosses will just use the 5 weaknesses in order to remove all the buffs you applied. The game tried to remove this type of strategy because we were debuffing the enemies too much to a point where everything became easy. So Hana will work, but in just a small number of bosses, and well, this reduces her utility a lot. I barely use debuffers in my party because I always prefer to buff myself. Sometimes it's required to debuff because let's say you have 100 endurance, but the boss has 500 STR. Debuffing the STR of that enemy will give you more value than just buffing your endurance by 25%. But you need to be careful because some bosses have a Dare Assault. If you debuff it too much, it will just use the fire weakness, and depending if it triggers that on the start or on the end of turn, you have to think well how to utilize this type of characters. Well, Hana is designed for Remembrance, and because of such a limited usage, I will be giving her an SS minus grade in the tier list. And one extra thing, on release, Hana will be the only character capable of stopping the new enemies on the next Remembrance Battle. Those 2 enemies will spawn during the fight and try to instant kill you, and you can either confuse or charm, but for clubs, you don't have anyone else capable of doing this. In the near future, we will get a new version of Genie that can inflict charm, so you can wait. If you cannot clear stage 20, you can still revive the characters that got killed and do it in a different way, but it will be much harder. Well, back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? In my opinion, no. I will only give it a bronze award. Even though it came from the future, it doesn't offer too much. King Sei is a farmer. We have other farmers. He will be very strong if you get him just like Soji was. Just like, well, Sparrow can be. Just like Lunar New Year, Leonard can be. But King Sei has a little more limited design to work better on events instead of story farming. So, well, if you already have good farmers, you can skip him. Vampire Lady is a support unit, but she feels incomplete. She does not seem to offer enough to justify her presence for the long run. They work well here to help you now, but looking into the future, she has a better style that does not require the current. And Hana is a debuffer that will work in very limited content, hence why I believe this banner has such a low value. But that is my opinion. What is yours? Please see here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description, and I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.